program is brought to you by Newsworks in cooperation with the City of Eau Claire.
Okay,
This program is
maybe
simulcast
start
on
the Waterways and Parks
WRFP
meeting now.
101.9.
People around the edge, if you are going to speak on your event, could you come up to the podium and give us your name and address for our minutes, please?
Now?
No, sorry. When you come up and speak on your event, we'll ask for comments and come up. We do have a new member to welcome tonight, Megan Kramer. Welcome. She has agreed to tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, my name is Megan. I grew up in Eau Claire. I lived away for a while in Minnesota and the West Coast, and I moved back with my husband about 4 years ago. Along with my husband, we own and operate the coffee grounds with my parents. We live on the East Side Hill.
Okay, good.
Welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Approve the minutes of the May meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, can we get a motion and second to approve? Joshua is moving and Jason is seconding the motion to approve the May minutes. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's approved. Our first special event, the USA Softball Northern Nationals opening reception and tournament.
On your agenda tonight, there's one special event up for recommendation, and this is a new event, which is why it's coming before you and not routing through the administrative process. But it's the USA Softball Northern Nationals opening reception and tournament, and it's scheduled for August 2nd and August 3rd through the 6th. And primarily at Jeffers Park, but Colleen Weber is here to speak to you tonight in a little more detail and let give you a little bit more background on this particular special event. But they have their insurance for the event is pending, and we're sure we'll have that. And the committee at this point had recommended approval, the special event committee. Colleen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Weber. For the minutes, my address is 2028 Moonlight Drive, Altoona, Wisconsin. As Todd said, it is the USA Northern Nationals tournament. It is for 10-year-old and under girls and 12-year-old girls. It's kind of a neat tournament. That's a new event for the area. They're expecting teams from 6 to 7 states, mostly upper central United States, but kind of a neat way to bring people into the area for tourism. It is a family-oriented event. They're expecting, one of the reasons we had to come before you is because there's probably about 2,500 people that will be attending. There are some local teams that will be part of it, but it is a regional national tournament. So no alcohol is involved in it. It's family-friendly. It will be held at Jeffers Park and also at the town of Seymour ball field, so that we'll have 2 parks that will be taking care of all of those people. Opening ceremonies will be at Carson Park Wednesday evening, August 2nd. And that is just the teams will introduce themselves. The girls have some sort of rituals where they exchange some things that I guess is part of the national tournament rituals. And then they'll have a dinner in the pavilion, and that'll wrap up fairly early on Wednesday night. And the tournament starts Thursday and runs through Sunday. Sunday, we may or may not need the Jeffers Park facilities. It may be all at Seymour, depending on how the tournament play goes. Any questions?
Any questions from commission members? Any comments from any of the? No. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on this?
Sounds excellent.
Sounds like we got it covered. Can we get a motion and a second to approve this event?
So moved.
Jason makes a motion.
Second.
Second, Meredith seconds. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. We're going to swap the order of the new businesses and move the capital improvement plan discussion down to right on top of the group photo, so that the people that are here for the other events don't have to sit through that. Okay, so the next item on the agenda will be the proposed agreement with the Eau Claire Skateboarder Association.
Also in your packet, there's a proposal and a pending agreement between the Eau Claire Skateboard Association and the City of Eau Claire. Some years back, as you recall, we constructed partnering with many of the same folks in the association, a skate plaza at Lakeshore Park. We were very, and council was very clear about not creating a skate park or a destination skate park, but rather having these plazas or pods or smaller areas along our trail system that connect our parks for skateboarding. And the Lakeshore, Lakeshore Skate Plaza has been in place, 5-6 years now. It's been a very successful spot for us, and there's plenty of interest in skating in our park system. The committee came before us and have a proposal for you to review to create a similar size skate plaza at Boyd Park in the East Hill neighborhood. They're on their way to fundraising, and the agreement would be once they reach a level of fundraising, I believe it's to the tune of $100,000, then this project would turn over to the city. We would begin to solicit bids and move forward with design and construction documents and such. But essentially, if the design, I don't know, there's nobody here tonight to speak to this other than myself. Is there anybody here to speak to the skate plaza? I thought there may be, but it will be very similar in square footage and size. Obviously, different events in this plaza at Boyd, but the East Hill neighborhood is supportive of this. They've sent a letter in the packet. We feel as staff that it would be a great addition to the park and another recreational opportunity to have that venue in our park system. And we're looking for a recommendation from the Waterways and Park Commission to go forward with this agreement with the Eau Claire Skateboard Association.
Pat, can you go forward to the design of how it's more like a long path instead of a big blob? Like, it doesn't really show how it would actually sit in. Back up.
One down.
Above the thermometer, right there, that's it. And so it would wander around the park a little bit instead of just being one big section. They don't really show exactly where that'll sit, but that's kind of neat how you would go
more
through.
of a flow track is my understanding, or a flow route along there. What we had with our first endeavor into this, we've had real good success when it came to soliciting proposals for this. We hooked up with a firm that they're not only do they build skateboard parks, but they are skateboarders, dyed in the wool. And they know what they want. They're very discriminating as far as how a skate plaza performs. And the biggest mistake we could make is build something that engineers and sorry, Dave, engineers and contractors think this would work out great. I've been through that in another community where I worked, and to have this park sitting empty is not a good thing. We'd surely hook up with another design build firm that definitely has that in their resume. Joshua?
I have a question. I couldn't tell where is oriented to the rest of Boyd Park. Did you know how that would be? Is this all on the riverside or on the Main Street side?
Other side.
Main Street side?
Yep, on the Main Street side.
Okay, and then the loop around towards, here what street that is there? Near like the playground?
South of the playground, kind of wrapping playground here.
In the back, the playground, basketball courts?
Yep.
Are on,
and then looping around this way.
okay, and then where do they extend all the way to the tunnel that comes under?
No, I don't believe it would go that far.
Okay, and this is down in the field?
Mm-hmm.
So the actual trail is actually more around it then?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't impact any current uses we have going on. The recreational trail that goes through the park now. It wouldn't, you know, encumber that activity at all.
And
So Main Street is to the south then?
Yes.
So it's right along kind of the
Below the
bank there?
below the bank.
I was on the East Side Hill Neighborhood Association as we were sort of developing this plan together with the skateboarders, and initially they were talking about more of a rectangular type thing, but then we realized that would interfere with the skating rink there. So this design is intended to, you know, allow the skating rink to continue.
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot, it doesn't impact the footprint of the skating rink either.
The hidden pocket looks interesting. It looks like there might be landscaping on top of that, where it says hidden pocket on the top of that.
I believe that it very well could be.
Huh.
Very well could be. And this is conceptual,
Uh-huh.
obviously, but this is what I think would certainly work with the park and what the skateboard association in the East Hill neighborhood would like to see in that area. And they are a ways on to, well onto their journey of fundraising, and I'm sure within a period of months we'll see that they'll have hit their fundraising goal, and then we'll initiate contact with, or we'll send out requests for proposals.
So, it seems to me 2 or 3 years ago was the first time the skateboard people came and said we want to build a park at skateboard park at Boyd Park. And I think they got their blessing from this group, at least at that point in time. And so what are you asking for now? What's different than what happened 2 or 3 years ago?
This is just to formalize the agreement that they will, you know, will begin to get proposals once they hit their fundraising goal. I think initially it was if they came before this committee, it was just to basically give the association your blessing to go ahead and, you know, follow this idea. The idea is coming to fruition and forming now as we speak. And then the agreement that would be part of this document, you know, part of this, what you're approving would be to go take that forward and on the council.
Yeah, can you go forward to the thermometer that shows, I think that shows how they're doing.
And this provides a more detailed design for the commission to
Yeah.
review too.
So it appears they're at 32,000 of their goal of 100,000. This, just for comparison, now this goes back a few years, you know, inflation considered, but the plaza at Lake Shore had a price tag of about $70,000-ish. So I think $100,000 will get these folks what they're looking for. And I know that they've not, I know that what they've developed so far conceptually is based on making sure that that idea fits within that budget.
Susan?
I thought I saw in some places that their responsibility was 75, as though maybe the city was going to put in 20.
In the MOU, it says 75, but other places says 100,000.
What's that?
What is,
In the MOU, it says $75,000.
Yeah, originally it was, you know, we realized if they can reach the 75, at some point we could budget for the additional. But again, our budget process, our capital improvement budget process is a 5-year process. So it would have to get in the queue and come forward. But their goal is, indeed, is $100,000.
Was that your question, Joshua?
Yeah, but the MOU number would be different than the fundraising goal.
Any other questions for Todd? No? Any discussion on that?
I like how that it fits into Boyd Park. It's not interrupting anything. It's off the path. It's off the basketball courts. It's off the skate rink, and it's kind of unused parcel of land. And it's visible by the roads, so seems good.
It would be nice if they could do something like that for the West Riverside Park, so it's not one big blob at the neighborhood end of that park. So it kind of gets them winding through the whole length of it.
Yeah, I think conceptually this design works real well for the park itself without impeding any current activities nor impacting any ideas that might come up in the future that, you know, we can't do that now because we put a skate plaza there. I don't see any of that with this design. So I think and the group that's that's driving this are, they're well aware of what they're doing. They're very organized, and the successes in, you know, was in at Lake Shore Skate Plaza, and it's been very successful.
Any other discussion? We get a motion and a second to approve this. Joshua's giving a motion.
Second.
Ron is giving a second. Joshua has the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Looks good. The next item on the agenda is a recommendation on widening the pathway to create a space in Wilson Park for the game pétanque can be played.
And again, in your packet, you'll find materials that describe the game of pétanque. We have people here tonight that can speak to this recreational pursuit perhaps better than I. When we were approached by Ms. Bittner perhaps a year ago, the game to me seemed much like bocce, but played with a metal ball bearing type of ball. But and one of the areas that the club thought that one of our parks that would lend itself well for this activity happened to be Wilson Park. And Pat, if you have that photo of Wilson Park that I forwarded you. Essentially, and I'll just sort of give you an outline of what our intentions would be if this were to be created. But a pétanque court or terrain is approximately 12 feet wide by 50 feet in length. We have two of these crushed granite pathways at Wilson Park, approximately 2.5 feet wide. What accommodating this use, we would propose to widen this path with light material, crushed base course, and then a crushed top dressing of crushed granite to get to that 12-foot width and for a distance of about 50 feet. In theory, here to here, and then, this would be on the Farlow Street side. On the Barstow Street side, we have a similar configuration. There would be room for 4 of these courts. Widening this would reduce our mowing. Widening this so people could participate in this activity while pedestrians and bypassers could, work through this would not be, in our opinion, a conflict. This is just typical use of Wilson Park on any given day. The Boys and Girls Club use it quite often. The YMCA, private fitness trainers do a lot of work down there. Yoga, Pilates, things like that. And it's a park that's considered one of our urban parks where the activities are fairly passive and not ball and stick sports. But we feel like we could certainly give this endeavor a home to try, and I believe from what you're about to hear, I think you'll be convinced it'll be fairly successful. And if by chance it's not, the restoration of the impact of the Wilson Park would be minimal. With that, I could give the podium to Anne Marie to speak to you a little bit about this idea.
Good evening, my name is Anne-Marie Bittner, and I thought you want my address too. 1200 Main Street in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, right across the skateboard park. I can see it from my windows. Okay, I know that you were given some letter of recommendations in your packet. However, one arrived in my email account last evening, dated June 25, and I received it June 27. Must have followed the post office must have gone to probably the Twin City before it came back. But anyhow, I would like to read it to you, please. To Cité of Eau Claire Recreation Department, we are delighted to provide this letter of recommendation in support of establishing a pétanque playing field in Wilson Park. Pétanque is an enjoyable and inexpensive pastime that nearly anyone can enjoy, no matter their age, physical abilities, or experience. We have played it for many years. I've enjoyed introducing many others to the game and would love to have a playing field where Eau Claire citizens and visitors can enjoy it. It is our sincere belief that establishing a pétanque field in Wilson Park will be in line with the Recreation Department vision and mission and would advance its core values. Recreation Department's vision statement. Pétanque is played outdoors in groups, so promoting it can help Eau Claire be a more vibrant and healthy community. Recreation Department's mission statement. Pétanque is a great game that will enrich our citizens and visitors. Recreation Department's core values. Ingenuity. Establishing a pétanque field is nothing if not innovative and creative. Health. Pétanque provides quality opportunities for physical activity. Explorative. Pétanque is a new way to enhance services. We respectfully request that you strongly consider establishing a pétanque field in Wilson Park. Sincerely, Dr. Mark D. Gideonson and Dr. Jennifer Eddy. All right. Now I have a few notes that I would like to read you too. It's going to take some of your time. As you know, we haven't been able to find a place where we can play pétanque in Eau Claire. All of the little walkways that you had in your park are now with a durable surface, so we can't use that. And also, I love myself as well, Mount Simon, but we have to play in a parking lot and a car going between our bulls, and if we're lucky, we can get out. Okay. So we noticed that Wilson Park has some unused area between Barstow, Earl, and Farwell, as Todd showed you. The installation of a pétanque terrain playing field on this side will be an asset and a low-cost opportunity for the Public Development Authority to promote physical and mental well-being through active play and community enrichment. Joel's Pétanque Club would benefit by supporting the cross-generational teaching and learning with its intrinsic value. The terrain at a future date will attract out-of-area players and regional tournaments, providing revenue. When not in use for pétanque, this low-impact facility will be well suited to a variety of alternative recreational activities and outdoor events which might also have the potential of to generate income. What is pétanque worldwide? Well, pétanque is an exciting game, and of course it came first in France, okay? Around 1840, and it's quickly becoming very popular in America and all over the world. And here is a picture of my great-great-grandparents supposedly playing pétanque, but I don't think it's 1840, I think it's 1600, okay? In France, where the game originated in the 19th century, they say there are about 17 million players. 17 million players, and take into consideration that France is probably not even the size of Texas, okay? And there are 600,000 members of FPUSA, which is our club, what we belong to, and Jeux Provençal. And those represent 94 nations in international competitions. There is a competition each year in Marseille, where I come from, and they have 100,000 players all over the world. Many come from United States too. And there is 145,000 people who are looking at them, spectators, okay. Beginning in 1959, clubs began to form in cities throughout the United States. Currently, the western state of Washington, Oregon, and California have half of the Federation of Pétanque USA clubs in a country, because it's warmer there on the two coasts. Pétanque is experiencing rapid growth among the baby boomers, one of the key coveted demographics for the tourism dorm. Here we try to play in Wilson Park. It was sad. Okay. In 2013, gold medalist, 7-time French national champion, Marco Foyo, visited a dozen clubs across the US, conducting clinics on skills and competing against local players. Every appearance was sold out. And would we have had a terrain in Eau Claire, Marco would have come here with his entourage, because he's very well known all over the place. Over 40 Federation Pétanque USA competitions are held every year, as well as hundreds of clubs sponsor events. Now, we have had our first one in 2015 in September with our members. The second one was in August 2016, and the third one will be in September 2017. And as you were told, in order to have competitions, we have to have a minimum of 4 courts, because all of those events are with 2 against 2. So into that first area that you saw, that first pathway, there will be 8 and 8 will be 16. And if we are receiving people from other places than Eau Claire, or even now we are expecting more from Eau Claire, we will not have enough. We need another 2 areas. So you were right, we need 4. Okay, 4 to make our competitions. There are 40 competitions every year and hundreds of club-sponsored events. Okay. How did we start? In, let's see, the 14th of July 2015, we had our celebration in Wilson Park. This is just like your 4th of July, same kind of well, 14th of July, nobody works in France, and France has, you know. So, yeah, Bastille Day in English, but they don't know what Bastille Day is, maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, a French girl by the name of Séverine said, "Oh, I miss playing pétanque, I always do for Bastille Day in France." I said, "Well, you got the bull in my car." And she said, "There's a tiny little path here, why don't you?" So she went and she did, okay. And then after the next year, Becky came and said, "I want to play pétanque on Bastille Day 2016. I said, "Wait, we're cutting the cake." She said, "Never mind about your cake, I want to play pétanque." Okay, so she went, all right. And we owe our first progress, if you wish, or we to jour night, because after listening to Séverine, I kind of understood that she's right. We can play anywhere. And I wanted to do something in memory of my son. So I called Leader Telegram, and I asked Joe Knight if he could write a little article about getting our pétanque started. So we decided to meet at Mount Simon, and he came and he played balls, pétanque, and so did I, and explained it to him. And he took some picture. Well, little did I know, 2 days after, he gave us a whole page into the leader telegram. That was very nice of him. So what does pétanque offers? Lifelong learning. There are very few outdoor activities that provide for friendly competition between young and old, man and woman, physically challenged and able-bodied. It provides the opportunity for a new kind of sociability that brings together people from all walks of life. A bank president may team with a grandmother, a school teacher with a carpenter, and they probably never met, but they will be close together for over 1 hour and finish to know, one another. For later, a revenue of stream will be a tournament-worthy pétanque terrain would prove a tourist draw to the entire Midwest area and more. In particular, the amazing housing and recreational amenities of our area will attract game aficionados and their oftentimes non-playing spouses, and make it possible for players of all income levels to come, play, and stay. Here is a little pancarte in here. We could put that. Place de la Pétanque in Wilson Park, so they would know. Here are some of our people in here. Here is more people who are playing for one of our competition in here, tourney. And here is our logo. This logo says Joel's Pétanque Club Eau Claire, Wisconsin on a bull. And this was designed by my nephew in Paris, who is a designer for the French car Renault. He works there, so that was neat of him. And here is Becky measuring which ball is closer than the other. And we even had a lady who used to come, she had to move. She brought her baby with her all the time. And each time we play, she put the baby thing down and we would pick it up and take it. So it's nice. Now, I'm finished pretty soon. I received this today. Hi, Anne-Marie. I apologize for the delay. Okay. Here is what our insurance looks like. Please let the parks and rec people know they can be added as an additional insured on the policy and will receive a certificate if so. Good luck, Dan Pfister, Secretary of FPUSA. And here's a $2 million insurance, which is free for you. And we are covered, so is a park recreation. Would you like it?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So that's it. Now, I will see what I have in here. I would like to go, there is something I wanted to say, to tell you that we would fit well and be part of that vibrant downtown community. And let's face it, a town with a French name should open their arm to a French game. Okay? All right.
Good finish.
And, okay, sorry. We receive this brochure once a year. I want to show you something, how fast it is going. In 2014, we had 1,879 members for all of the United States. And you see all of those dots are clubs. You see they're all on the Atlantic or on the Pacific side. Nothing in the Midwest, okay? Well, then the next year we went up. We are now 18, well, so we were 2,000, whatever, it doesn't matter. They show you by age, what the age group is, and definitely the baby boomers and the people between 70, 79, and are the ones who are the most playing the most. And this is what I am very proud of, because we have put Joel's Petanque Club right smack in Eau Claire, and we put Wisconsin on a whole map of the United States. We never, so now you should be pleased too. And a gentleman from Milwaukee called about 6 months ago. He said, I noticed that you are in Wisconsin, and I just arrived in Milwaukee. I would like to start a club. How did you do it? So I put him in a relation with whomever, and he is the second club in Wisconsin. So we're turning, and we're over 2,000 members right now. Sorry I took so long.
Thank you, Ms. Visner. Are there any questions for
Now, yes, we like to have Dawn,
Do you need
please.
more testimony, or is that enough? We're here in support of Anne Marie.
Dawn?
Sure.
I'll be brief. Don Brito, 427 Jefferson Street. Maybe first of all, are there questions from what you've heard from Todd and Marie?
Do you have the thing around, that has like a little ledge?
Wooden stuff? No, you don't need that. In fact, I think the ease of fitting this into what's already in Wilson Park.
Widened crushed granite path is what we've talked about, Don and I and Marie.
Yeah, I don't think we'd want a border like that. Just make it difficult to mow. Yes.
Have you considered any of the other parks? And the only reason I ask that is just because Wilson Park is so small, it's just a block. And there's some other parks that have different kinds of courts in them, like the place McDonough where the pickleball courts were just built, and we do have a whole place where we have horseshoe courts. And have you thought about any other place besides?
Yeah, we've talked quite a bit with Todd about what goes on in Carson Park and down at near Fairfax and so on. And we've played in parking lots in all those parks. The thought was that Wilson Park, because it's small and this doesn't take a huge amount of space and is in the middle of town, was perhaps the best, and already has the crushed gravel path that just needed to be widened, was perhaps ideal for now. We did talk about the new Cannery District extensive park possibilities that are going to be out there, and how it might work very well to have some courts beside the bike path that was going to kind of be in the lower level near the river. So for the future, that is very attractive sounding, but for now, the Wilson Park's going to be a quick way to jump in. I think you saw in your one letter, we're kind of like Coob was about 8 or 10 years ago. We're just getting started. We think it's going to catch on. It's fun. It's much like Coob as far as anybody can do it. The difference is we can't use grass, and they have to find a piece of grass, and we need to find a piece of smooth crushed gravel. We've tried playing on baseball fields, but it's a competition when somebody's trying to play baseball or softball, and then there's none of them that are right down in the middle of town, and none of them have the shade. But the one neat thing about Wilson Park is the shade. And then I think it was mentioned those hard gravel areas could be used by the kids or by other community members for a variety of things, anything they would rather do in that park, not on grass, especially if it's wet, or not on concrete, as the sidewalks are. So we think it'd be neat for the kids when they come from the Y or the Boys Club.
We suspect that if these terrains are placed there, we widen the path. There'll still be a footpath in conjunction with somebody playing petanque while somebody's walking by.
In fact, some of the way we've introduced new people to playing is when they come into the park on the path when we're playing, and they're excited to ask what's going on, and often join in and play it with us.
The reason why the gravel path is there, I'm assuming it's because it's a walkway. And it goes diagonally across.
On the south end of the park.
And so, how does, and there's the majority of time, the game, there won't be people playing the game. So is it all right for people to be walking and expect people to continue to walk take that route, even though the surface changes? Is it okay for people to walk on?
Oh, yeah. The surface won't really change, it'll just be widened.
The surface will be the same material.
In fact, we don't even expect, I think Todd mentioned, we don't expect it to be a problem if people are walking while we're playing. It's not like foul balls coming off, hitting people in the head or anything. So yeah, it should work even better as a walkway. Right now, you could hardly walk beside your friend because it's so narrow. So you can walk hand in hand or three abreast.
Yeah, looking at the paths, it probably should be widened either way. If somebody's coming with a stroller and somebody's meeting them, there's not.
Yeah, I think the grass is probably.
It's
encroached.
I think originally those were probably, to be honest with you, probably about a 4-foot wide path, simply because that's about the width of our bucket on most of our equipment. And over years, the turf just sort of crowds.
And the sidewalks are about 4 feet wide on the north side of the park. That's concrete. And that's
How wide again?
12. They're 2.5 now, approximately.
Jason?
Are you at the stage of having an estimated cost and potential funding source?
Yeah, we've got Todd some numbers from Red Flint.
Approximately $400 per quart.
Oh,
Fairly minimal.
okay.
And then we don't have a thermometer yet going for how much we reckon, but if it's $400 per quart or $800 to $1,600 bucks, we're not thinking it's not like $100,000 project. So
great.
So, Todd, is somebody able to do like a site plan to show how it would fit on the park?
No, I haven't.
I mean, I think it's an excellent idea. I just think that that Wilson Park is so small, and if you make the paths 4 times as wide, or 3,
it'd be about 3 times wider. We wouldn't impact
twice.
We would not impact any trees. We'd stop short of where there was trees. And the one photograph showed some trees near the corner of Farwell Street, but no, we'd simply be widening the path that exists. And there, as far as having a site plan, the footprint of the park doesn't change, it merely widens a walking path. And at times there may be this activity played in the park.
So theoretically, the path is narrowed over the years. The city is thinking that it should be widened anyways, and it just so happens that it would really work out well.
I would believe we're probably ultimately adding 8 feet of gravel or granite to what was once built, and over time those paths have sort of narrowed right down. It's time to re-edge it. But if we're going to go 8 feet wide, we would, and originally 4 feet wide, we would have our 12-foot wide path. And from a standpoint of maintenance, it's not a non-issue. Crushed granite is very easy to maintain. We mow less. There's no fertilization. We cut back on our irrigation. A couple things like that.
Any other questions for Mr. Riedel? Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want to hear 2 more supporters? I didn't bring your resume.
My husband brought his resume when he came to meet my parents. It worked. Becky Pierce, 1314 South Farwell, Eau Claire. We live just a few blocks. We're in the 3rd Ward. We live a few blocks from Wilson Park, and I'm always asking Nanu and Marie to please have it at Wilson Park because it's so close. I just walk over or ride my bike over. There are these huge trees, so it's nice and shaded. We can go sit by the water if we, want to get splashed a little bit. And it's just been, the only problem being, of course, that the path is too narrow, but it's been my favorite place. Otherwise, we've tried Banbury. That was okay. We've gone to Mount Simon Park, but like you said, we're down by the water and there are cars driving. We're throwing balls out into this gravel and the cars are driving around us. So my favorite place is Wilson Park, and I'd love it if it would be. Any questions for me?
Any questions? No. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dooley. My address is 918 East Hamilton Avenue. I guess this is my first time speaking, so I'll give my background. I recently graduated from St. Olaf. I'm taking a biology program at UWEC. And as soon as I came back, I started playing pétanque with Anne-Marie. I think a lot of what I was going to say has already been said, so I will talk about my impact on my family. My parents, they're from Madagascar. I'm also from Madagascar, even though I've lived here basically my entire life. And it's difficult making friends, like close family friends, because a lot of the things that Malagasy people enjoy doing back in Madagascar are not widespread in America. So a lot of our social life is just dinner or meals or going to the movies. But pétanque has brought us outside. It's given us some really close friends, and it's brought back a little bit of home here. I guess I also want to talk about the importance of Wilson Park. It's surrounded by a lot of the elderly community, and if we chose a different park, it would be inaccessible to them. It's also within walking distance of a lot of students from the university, and I have not yet really made an effort to, reach out to the college community, but it's certainly possible. And yeah, excuse me. I guess this personal impact on my family. The sports that I play, what makes pétanque different from other sports is, I guess, just the accessibility, really. I play basketball and I play football. I really enjoy those, but my dad can't play those anymore. And playing basketball against a 5-year-old is not always the most fun thing. But I could play pétanque against a 5-year-old, and they have an equal chance of beating me if they've practiced. It's a game that anyone can play.
Is it new to you since coming here, or did you play it in Madagascar?
I don't really remember Madagascar, but I didn't really play it until I moved here.
Okay. Are there any questions from Julie? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good background. Is there any discussion?
I've been in some regions where they play pétanque, and it's very well suited for urban environments. I think Wilson Park is a natural fit for this type of game. I've seen it in play. Anyone can play it, and less grass growing, like fewer weed, and I think it's kind of classy in the place I've seen it. So I think it's a great location for it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, when I first heard of this proposal, I'm saying, well, wait a minute. It seems like Wilson Park is wooded and shaded, and it really probably isn't the best place, and we should go somewhere where it's open, and people have space, and those types of things. But it seems to me that's part of the beauty of the game. What I'm hearing is that people like the socialness of it, the laid-backness of it, and yet it can be a game that everybody plays. Is that kind of what?
Yeah.
So
You're
maybe Wilson Park is a good spot.
I think especially since it doesn't really impact the park very much at all, as far as trees coming down and anything like that.
I think it would have helped if we would have had a picture of what how much of the park it really does look like it takes up. When she said, did she say something about 8?
If they want to have tournaments and competition, they would need 4 courts, terrains. We would start small.
Okay.
We could start with 1 in theory. We could start with 2 as interest begins and funds come along. To add more, we could add more. Roughly from the fountain, if you can imagine, from the fountain to the opposing corners of Barstow and Farwell, that is nearing 160 feet in length. Each court is about 50 feet in length. So there'd be, easily two of footprints for these terrains would fit in each gravel path. And I was out there last week, and I did do a site analysis, and we stopped short of any of the mature trees that are there too. It literally would not impact any trees.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'd move that we recommend widening the pathway to create a space for Great Talk to be played.
Okay, can we get a second? You have a second? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's good. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
Recommendation to approve Haymarket Plaza Master Plan.
I'm Dave Silver with the engineering department for the city of Eau Claire. I don't know if you want my email address. But we are getting to the point where we are going to be taking the design contract to the city council to help with the final design on the Haymarket Plaza. Currently, we have developed a master plan. This is not the final design, but it contains the concepts that we want to have in the final design for it. So we're seeking approval of the concepts contained in this master plan when we bring the design contract forward to the city council on July 11th. We'll be bringing that. So I'll go over what we have, what we've developed so far with this. There have been 3 or 4 different concepts that have started with Haymarket Plaza. The first one, they kind of a cornucopia design with wings out to the side of an amphitheater. Then it was a little bit harder plaza, and now we're on to a little bit of a greener plaza through some iterations with public involvement. We tried to pay attention as closely as we could to the inclusions for the placemaking exercise that was held back in 2013. So the placemaking exercise with the majority or the most popular recommendations at the time included biking and pedestrian connections and amenities, pedestrian bridge across the Eau Claire River, which we are working on, and it's looking favorable that we will have that in conjunction with construction of the plaza, but the plaza is the primary focus right now. They also identified places to sit, eat, and linger. Availability for food and drink vendors if possible, outdoor fire pits, hearth, oven, or other unique fire features, interactive water features, canoe, kayak, docks and racks, signature entryway or gateway to the plaza, a nighttime park with unique and interesting lighting, winter programming, interactive public art displays, and the ability to have antique and artist craft markets. So the only thing that we weren't able to fit into this master plan were the canoe, kayak, docks, and racks. We just weren't able to fit that in here, but we do have fire plazas along. This is the Performing Arts Center that is under construction currently, the Haymarket Landing Building, Eau Claire River, Chippewa River. So we have the trail, the Riverwalk Trail that we're calling it, that starts at Barstow Street. The first stretch is completed along the Haymarket Landing Building to about this location. That will continue through here with a trail that's wider. Our standard trail width is 12 feet. All of the locations through here are 15 feet or wider for bicycle and pedestrian accommodations. We have, it's mostly flat. When I get them going through this, there's a video that takes you through the plaza. But everything that you see along here is flat. They're pretty flat with, it's minor terrain to allow for drainage. But instead of Phoenix Park, where it's more of a park and it's a rolling landscape, this is more of a flatter plaza that we tried to include some grass and some landscaping in it to soften it up a little bit. So if it was all pavers, it would be like an extension of the lobby for the Performing Arts Center, and it would serve well for that function. If it was all grass and all park, like Phoenix Park, it would serve more of the recreational users, but not so well for patrons of the art center or people dining at the facilities that could be potentially located on this frontier. So we try to blend it together into an urban plaza, slightly more urban in design than you would have in a park. We have an interactive water feature in the middle. Then we have basically an outside, it'll be like the community deck out there. We're looking at having a wood surface, and then some natural looking seating. They look like skipping rocks that you skip across the river, only they're a larger scale. And then there will be some maybe some honey locust trees or some smaller trees that wouldn't be completely shading, but it would allow some filtered sunlight to come in. And then also we have some lit sculptures that hopefully at night, along with some of the other lighting features, will serve as a beacon and as something of interest during the nighttime hours. So when you come through here with the trail lighting along the wall and some other accent lighting through the plaza and then lit art pieces, that'll turn into a nighttime use as well. So the lights won't be out at night. As you're approaching this area, there is some relief. There's about 3 feet of fall from the top here towards the trail on the bottom. And the trail's at grade here. It dips down slightly, and then it comes back to grade at the bridge. So this offers, it has two themes behind it. The first was to have natural seating surface of stone or poured concrete with some stone accents to it that would allow some quiet, reflective seating of the confluence and the natural beauty of this area. But it also was meant to have a little bit of a tribute to our logging past with aerially to look like logs coming down the river. When we go from the preliminary or from the master plan to the final design, this is one thing that we're looking at. Are they straight like that, or are they a little bit more random like logs probably would have done? So what we're looking for in the master plan is to approve concepts that yes, we like the idea of having seating here, and then the final design when it comes out allows room for some tweaking and some moving for that. These dark bands of pavers are intended to have the same stone that we have on the Confluence Art Center. The pattern for this, most likely in the final design, will be rotated. So the bands would serve as more of a pathway and wayfinding to the front door of the theater down here. But from the air, it'll be a mix of natural stone, poured concrete with a different tooling pattern. We have called for some stone seating along here, and feedback is with the clientele and the patrons for the art center, it would probably be more appropriate to have some iron seating without a back on it. So at various heights, so if there are some mobility concerns, you could have a place where you could rest where you wouldn't have to sit all the way down out there. So this will probably be, benches instead of rocks here, but we're trying to have enough seating through here, and enough varied seating, so it provides that opportunity to sit in between an event or an intermission for the art center, but then different seating if you're coming down in the afternoon visiting the library, or if you're a resident of the building here, or you're just out for a walk. So we're trying to provide appropriate seatings in the areas of the plaza that would be appropriate. And generally, along the buildings, we're more urban and a little bit less natural stone, more metal and man-made materials. And as we get closer to the water, you're transitioning into more softer, greener features as you approach the river. And we do have a stair access, and we're planning to have an unimproved trail along the river, both to the Barstow Street Bridge and then also down to the Lake Street Bridge. So if you want to walk and enjoy the water resource, you can exit the paved trail and you will have access along the river for fishing or putting a tube in or a kayak if you carry one down. The way it's set up, there could be events out here. If there's a taste of Eau Claire, it's flat enough. Even this grass is performance grass where it's flat, but you can set up tables on it. You can set serving platforms. When the water's not up for this, you could have a small event in here, an impromptu musical, somebody playing guitar up there, or some kind of a performance, but it's not intended to be a program space. Trying to think of what else is contained in here. I think that's.
Would it be a holiday tree? Was that?
Oh yes, the Christmas tree or holiday tree. So we originally thought we'd have a holiday tree. We put basically a water main or sleeve in there, 12-inch or 18-inch water main in the middle, so you wouldn't notice it when the spray is on, but you could put a tree right in the middle of this. But I think now we're going to locate it in this grassy area that we're going to be probably pushing snow onto in the wintertime anyway. And then it would offer the opportunity to put a membrane down, and you could have a skating rink in the summer here in the winter, and then the tree would be right there. So something to try and make it a wintertime venue as well. So
what's the diameter of that?
this is 60 feet, and this is something that we're also tweaking. I personally would like to see this area expanded because I think this is going to be the place where people. There's natural stone seating here that are fake stones, but they look like real stones. But then there's also the opportunity to have foldable chairs out for like almost bistro type chairs. So if one of these places had sold food, or if you wanted to bring your lunch, these would be available during the summer months for seating out. So this is about 60. This is about 35 feet roughly in diameter here.
It looks like we have a lot of seating lined up to just look at the river with no performance space on that path in front of it? Or would there be, no, right next, yeah, right there. Are we thinking we would allow performances down there too, or?
One of the things that came out of the placemaking was that this wasn't going to replace this, like the summer concert series and the Labyrinth at Phoenix Park, but it would certainly set itself up if you had, you could have, a small band, a quartet out there saying, or you could have something here and you would have an amphitheater type seating that you could view that. This was intended to offer, you could almost put your back on the city and you could reflect upon the quietness of the river and look at the beauty of this. The intent for this. We're trying to tweak it so not only can you reflect on the river, but can it somehow still honor the logging past, but encourage a little interaction or have some parts of it, some interaction. So you sit down, you might talk to somebody and reflect instead of just being too solitary. So we're trying to play a little bit with that. But we wanted to have an area that was dedicated to viewing the river and then trying to get whatever we could in with that.
Dave, how tall is that fence that is on the river side between the grassy area and that?
For right here?
Uh-huh.
That would have to be 54 inches because it would be a bike trail also. I think it's 54, isn't it, for the 48 for a regular, or 42 for a pedestrian.
Would that interfere with the view of the river?
It's the same railing that you see in Phoenix Park, so it's an open rail with a swoosh.
Okay.
So it's completely open for that. And then we would have our teardrop lighting. We'd have blisters. This wall, depending upon how the permitting comes back from the DNR, is anywhere from 6 to 12 feet in height. So on the outside, we would have blisters like you see along the Haymarket Plaza building, and we would have that same lighting along the trail on the outside.
Will the fires be turned on just at special times, or?
That's what we're working through right now. If it comes on a half hour before sunset, turns off 2 hours afterwards, does it come on during special events? We're going to work through the operations later, but we'll have the opportunity to have those. I don't think we're looking, although I guess we'll work with our partners in parks of having a switch on it to turn it on. I don't know that we would have it that open for the public to turn on anytime. Might be Fridays, Saturday nights.
Will the fountain be one where you turn on if?
That one I would anticipate probably being on most of the time, maybe until 10 o'clock at night, 10 or 11. It does, we're going to have lights that come up on it, so when it's dark, it would have a lighting feature to it, as well as just the visual during the daytime. But yeah, all those operations, we'll have to try and figure out what makes sense, and I'm sure we'll have to tweak it after it opens too. The one thing with these fire areas, it's a linear fire that goes along these ribbons, and I don't know if we'll have 3, we'll probably have 1 for sure, and if we don't have fire here, when they're off, they serve as seating too, so it's like ribbon seating for there. Yes?
Go ahead. So, I've said this a couple times, I'm going to say it again. The thing I feel like we are missing an opportunity to do, and we might be too late for that now, but I know that when people were in the public sessions, that people talked a lot about incorporating art into the park, into this little park. And I'm thinking that now we're getting to the point where there could maybe be some individual pieces, but if we would have like an RFP or just an invitation, a rather direct invitation to some artists for ideas about how could the seating reflect the arts, how could the lighting fixtures, how could a lot of different aspects, the pavements, the different walkways, how could that be incorporated? There are places like that. There's some, really interesting and fun places. And, but I think we would have to make an active request to people so they know that that's welcome. And it was part of those discussions, the public discussions, but through all the steps of the design, it's never been active. So I feel like that was kind of a missed opportunity, especially since this is the area of the Performing Arts Center and we'll have galleries and so forth in it. This weekend I went to see a place that's over by Ellsworth where the woman does concrete sculpture using a special technique. So she has about 2 acres of gardens and she has very imaginative. The benches are figures, the walkways, the pathways. It has all these things. It's so amazing. And I think we could have had some of those kinds of ideas worked into this park. And I'm just sorry we didn't more actively ask for responses from people just to give ideas, not to be the specific, maybe, but what would the walls be like if somebody who was a mosaic artist, for example, would have done a treatment for them? I think we could have had something that was totally unique. So I just mentioned that one more time before the design is final.
Well, I would like to point out that this isn't the final design.
Right, but it's getting awfully close.
We have contact with artists. For one thing, with the wall on here, this wall is not going to be a multicolored art piece. This wall is going to match all the other walls along the river, so that wasn't part of it. But these benches, we have a number of different options. The master plan shows that there is a place here to sit and look out. We have different styles. These, we have numerous different feedbacks for what these lines could be, and they could not be lines. We could have light in it. There's glass features that go into here. These sculptures, these light sculptures, are just representative. The actual size of what they are, whether they're sticks or trees or chameleons or this is a concept for this. This in no way we want to include art, but this in no way was intended to look like as colorful as a painter's palette for in here, to be an art wall. But art was to be in it as well as including natural landscapes, including, I mean, this wasn't only an art piece, but art was very important and it had to be balanced with the other features that were in it as well. So I think when it's open, I think you'll be very happy with the artistic experience that's in there. I do.
May I point to something?
Sure.
This is perhaps more about access to the plaza, and this design may not be an accurate representation, but for pedestrians here at this corner, some of them may cross here, but I would imagine people going to the Performing Arts Center are going to cross like this, and people coming into the plaza are going to cross like this. Would it be possible to sort of make this whole area a crossing, pedestrian crossing?
Well, we have the two are in right now.
Okay.
Planning and going through, so it doesn't show up on here, but
Sure.
when we came through with Barstow like this, we're assuming that if there's a large event, that this will probably shut off, at least back to the underground parking where the driveway is here. It was originally before there was a parking ramp that was in here 4 or 5 years ago. This was intended to be a street that would be shut off fairly regularly as a pedestrian, but with the vehicle access here, as far as taking these pavers out and replacing the whole works, that wasn't something that we had looked at.
But so you're saying there's a crosswalk here and here?
Yep, these pavers are in right now.
Great.
And they go to the front on here. We had looked at actually trying to bring these black pavers out into the street, so the plaza kind of grabs you and pulls you in. Those pavers are really expensive, so we're going to see where we are with our budgets with this, and then, you know, if our budgets are tight, then that will dictate, that'll help with the number of fire plazas. It'll affect stone versus concrete. We're doing soil borings for the wall. If the wall has to be supported on piling versus just a footing, that will affect things also. So we're trying to manage within our budget that we have right now. So
thanks.
But yeah, that was something. This corner is probably one of the most talked about corners in Eau Claire, from being too tight and not easy to get a car or anything through, to being too open and you get too many cars through and not pedestrian friendly enough. And it's, I think that'll be something we'll have to look at when it opens. Yeah.
I think having an access point from Phoenix Park with a pedestrian bridge is something highly desirable. You just get the flow from people who are over there over to this plaza. You said it's looking favorable. What contingencies are incumbent upon this bridge going through? What might happen that would cause it not to be constructed? Or, because right now you said it was favorable. Could you just kind of expound on that a bit?
Price is the biggest, I would say, for it. If we can't afford it, our priority is to get this plaza. This needs to be done. This is a good idea and people like it, but it's not essential, because we do have access for trails up to Barstow Street, cross the Barstow Street Bridge and come around. So basically, we don't have an infinite pot of money, so we have a budget earmarks for here, we have a budget earmarked for here. But if we get on the final design and our budgets are tight for this, we'll have to make that determination. Do we want to put it into here for the finish, or what we want in here, or do we scale back to what's nice and make sure we have a bridge and juggle that? Right now, it's looking like we're on track for everything, but it's basically comes on price. We're anywhere from $1 million to $4 million for bridge types that have received favorable feedback at open houses, and we've got about $1 million budgeted for it, so $1.5 million.
So this and the bridge are to be city funded, not did?
This is city funded, the plaza. The bridge, we are working with bridge companies right now, 2 bridge companies in particular, for seeing what kind of partnering or donations that they would be willing to work with us on the bridge. But as far as the plaza itself and the Riverwalk, that will go all the way down to Lake Street. Those are either CIP funded from the general fund or TID funded for those.
Okay. Whoever was talking about the kind of seating and how people might be dressed, or whether we're sitting on rocks would work, and so forth. I'm really noticing, and I think I'm noticing in Phoenix Park, that the rocks, which I have sat on many times, they're doing what rocks do. They're sinking down, or the ground is coming up, whichever. So they're closer to the ground, some of them, than they used to be. And for a lot of people, that makes it very difficult to sit, to actually use the seating. So I think it's really, at least to vary the seating so that some is, in terms of your seating experience, is a little more conventional. And I'm thinking that sitting on things that look like logs might be kind of similar to that. If you would like a lot of pictures of what Eau Claire looked like when the logs were out of the river and onto the land, the museum has a lot of pictures like that. You'd be quite amazed.
They look like logs in the plan view. When you're walking through there, they will not look like logs. You won't make that mistake.
No.
Do you want to play the video? Yeah.
It's not how it looks.
That's because it's straight down and you're not looking at the side.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how it looks.
So here's a video for if you're walking through it. So this is that outside. This would be a wood seating with some permanent, with like skipping stones. These here and the racks along there are the ones that we would most likely replace with an iron type bench, a little bit more urban feel. And then it's a softer feel and more green as you approach the water over here.
You said the fire areas could be seating when they're not lit. There wouldn't be any automatic fire turn on so that somebody would get us to run.
As long as we don't get hacked, so that's not the, so somebody pushing the button with the cameras out here. We're planning on having Wi-Fi and some accent lighting through here to provide a little extra light subtly at night. And again, the fit and finish for these have not been determined. They wanted to just have the representation of what it would look like. And you can see this part of the theater is framed up now. That's what's sticking out when you look down. And some of the feedback from more of the art center interest had expressed more of a desire to have pavers in front and then this area here to be concrete pavers. And with that grass, if that was a desire after it opens, a couple years down the road, it could be taken out, the grass could be taken out, and it could be all pavers, so it's a harder surface.
What would be the reasoning for that?
More of an urban plaza feel like you'd have in Venice, where you walk in and that's all, and you see the pigeons fly off. And that's what we've been trying to balance. There's a strong desire to have it like a European plaza, and there's a lot of support for the Phoenix Park in the more wild, not wild, but the greener, more natural landscape. So we've tried to blend the two as best we can. But there's also a desire, even though the placemaking exercise didn't list it as a top priority, to be able to hold a significant 500 to 1,000 person special event for a fundraiser, or like we have dinner on the bridge, to have that number of people in here with like an orchestra or some entertainment in the middle with the seating around it. We're pretty close because you can, on this grass here, you can place tables on it, not every day, but you could. And you could have this, about an acre worth of flat event area for a special event like that.
So is the video on the city's webpage?
Yeah, if you go to our department's engineering, and then there's a projects link, there are a number of still shots taken from the video from different angles, and then the video is out there also. If you do I think it's out on YouTube, if you do a Haymarket Plaza YouTube search, it'll come up from that also.
When would be the proposed completion date? What would be best case scenario?
Well, I had hoped to be under construction with the retaining wall this year, right now. but we have staging equipment for the theater out there, so probably we'll be starting, if we can get started on this wall this fall. We'd like to have the plaza and everything done. The stuff that you would actually touch would start construction when the snow is gone next spring, and hopefully have it done early to mid-June. We definitely want to have it done in conjunction to when this is completed, and that will be complete before the grand opening. So personally, I like to have the trails and have everything open so we can have at least 4th of July and Labor Day with it. So we have 2 of the 3 holidays in the summer that can use it. So we have the proposal for the mechanical systems for the fountain, lighting, planting schedules for the landscape that goes in here. That contract will go to the council July 11th, and we'll spend the next 6 months working on getting the stuff into the plaza that it will look like, the light types, the types of art. There are some lighting, like a Vivid Sydney type, that we wouldn't necessarily be able to include because we don't have the funds for it, but to include the accommodations for it. If you want to look at what this could look like if we had donations in the future, if you do YouTube search for Vivid Sydney, it's absolutely fabulous. For one theme that could be coming through down the road if we're successful fundraising, and that would make it a nighttime entertainment venue also.
Any other questions? Dave, Susan?
Well, I understand the people who are talking about a kind of an maybe I don't understand the people who are talking about all hard surfaces, because it can be sleek and sophisticated, but it can also be cold and kind of barren. And I think if you're thinking about one thing about what's the natural environment of the area that brought the logging industry and so forth, I think this mix of softer areas, grassy areas, other kinds of plantings mixed in with the harder surfaces would be a more pleasant experience on a regular basis, as opposed to how you might do an event once a year.
That's exactly the feedback that we had at the open houses, where if it's a European type plaza, that would be best suited if you're in your tuxedos or a black tie event in here, and you go out and it would be like an extension of the atrium when you come out at intermission. But if you're down at the library at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or if you're going out there right now, something that would be probably closer to Phoenix Park than this is. So we had, through the open houses, we had on one extreme where the art extreme, that I think you like the idea of really vibrant, and then you have on the other side a very, very muted and sophisticated and like an extension of a very formal and elegant extension of the plaza. And then you had the historians and you had the naturalists with the river and wanting the natural beauty instead of the vibrant artistic. So we try to take what we could out of all of those and blend it together into something that we hope will satisfy the expectations for each group when they're in the plaza at their time. So
it's my opinion too that it shouldn't stand alone. I mean, the bridge will be built at some point in time, and then we have if you look at the total area and what Phoenix Park has to offer as compared to the plaza, and we have maybe one that's a little more formal, a little more hard surfaces, and Phoenix Park a little more green, and I think that it's the confluence, it's where the rivers come together. We have to think about both sides.
I can't promise on the bridge, but it's looking very favorable.
Yeah,
I don't sweat the bridge. It would be the lowest cost to construct it when this is under construction. So we're doing everything we can to try and make sure that we're in a position, permitting wise, DNR and fundraising wise, to get get that done this year, so.
But if it doesn't happen this year, I mean, at some point in time, that bridge is gonna go. My conviction. My opinion.
Should at least have the plan for it, so that it.
Yeah, and then this wall would be built as an abutment, so we would have it structurally reinforced, so if for some reason it didn't go in this year, they could come in and they could set the bridge on it 2 or 3 years from now. But the only problem with that, to set the bridge here, you have cranes coming in, and this part of the plaza is out of commission when you do that, and they're damaging the pavers if we have out here, and it would be best just
To do it.
just to get done. That's why we're trying to do as many of the streets in downtown over the next couple of years. So we're not every year for the next 10, 15 years on a different street out here. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. If you were to walk the Riverwalk Trail August, September of next year, hopefully you'll be able to make it all the way down to Lake Street. We're redecking the Grand Avenue Bridge, the pedestrian bridge next summer, so that'll have a new deck on it as well. Hopefully this bridge is done and the plaza is done, and we'll enjoy downtown.
Anybody else? Any discussion on it? We get a motion and a second to approve it then.
And what are we exactly approving?
This is a master plan that sets the concepts. We're going to have grass, we're going to have a water feature, but whether these are concrete, stones that you can donate for fundraising, or if they're light, that'll be in final design. But in concept, the master plan, so we're going to have these features in the plaza. This is a 30,000 foot view of what it looks like, but understanding that there is flexibility to change it when the final design comes in. And part of that's budget, part of it's working with the artist, part of it's going one or two more iterations with the public, changing bench types, operationally with the fire plazas. So it's approving this master concept of the plaza.
Okay, we had a motion from somebody. Ron, and a second?
I second.
Meredith seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Solder. But you stay here for the next thing? Or is it Todd?
The next one is almost as exciting. In a different kind of exciting way. Electrical safety is. Last year, we were here, I can't remember if it was the summer or the fall, for an easement along Highway T for Jeffers Road Park. Xcel Energy has a substation on the east side of Jeffers Road, and they're increasing the electrical redundancy into the Gateway Industrial Park. So they have requested an easement along the south side of County Line Road along the north edge of Jeffers Park. So this is the Jeffers Ball Field Park out here. Currently, Highway F, sorry, not T, F, County Line Road. Currently, County Line Road is a very small road. Our utilities at the time were installed off of the right-of-way, outside of the right-of-way, in fact, because this is a township road, but we have municipal utilities that extend along County Line Road. Xcel Energy also has existing facilities in this area, so they're requesting an underground electric easement 10 feet wide to go adjacent to the existing utilities that are located along the south right-of-way for County Line Road. It's underground. There'll be some transformers, and there will be a transformer and a switch cabinet at this corner here. We could still build a trail or parking lot over the top of it. It wouldn't affect that, and it would have consistent requirements with the easement that went along Jeffers Road north and south there. But everything will be underground. You won't see it. We'll have to be aware of it if we do any infrastructure projects out there. But it'll provide a secondary electrical feed to Nestle used to have their primary feed were to have a power outage, they would have some redundancy with this.
Move approval.
Second? Ron? All those in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you. In construction, they're planning to start construction on that this summer or fall. And it'll take just a short period of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now the CIP.
CIP. In your packet, I believe, Jeff included all the capital improvement projects for what he oversees. So there were a number of projects listed as the transportation improvement plan that really wouldn't apply, but if we can, we'll just sort of weed that stuff out to some degree. If you would, Pat's prompted the proposed plan. Pat, what I'll do is I'll go through the Hobbs. Yeah, thank you. I'll go through the Hobbs projects. And if you have questions, and our friends from Hobbs aren't here tonight, or Fairfax, but if you have questions that I'm not able to provide a thorough answer for you, I will make sure we'll get one in a roundabout way to you. Looking at our capital improvement plan, the city's capital improvement plan is in a 5-year cycle. We do this typically so we can prepare for upcoming needs and wants. Occasionally there are some things that go a little haywire, and we need to move things up into the plan outside of the 5-year program. But essentially, here's kind of a snapshot of what we're thinking. The interesting one is the floor replacement at the Ackervik rink in Hobbs, and you'll notice there's a considerable amount of expenditure over the next 5 years proposed at Hobbs. But the Ackervik rink has been around for a long time, and one of the things that they need to do is install a new floor system with heating. It seems kind of ironic in a hockey barn that you would need heating, but what happens is the effect of permafrost. I believe the frost depth below that rink is about 18 feet deep, and of course, moving of frozen ground is causing problems, and the skating surface is starting to be impacted by that, or the maintenance required is starting to be impacted by that. So that's you'll notice that's a fairly that's coming up right in a few next year. The $150,000 likely would be for design services, and the 1.5 would be for construction. Air handlers at the O'Brien rink that serve the public locker rooms and public bathrooms and mechanical rooms. They're basically exceeding their lifespan. 15-year lifespan is what they're expected, and are reaching that point. As you recall, there was a considerable amount of expenditures at Hobbs and Fairfax Pool, for that matter, a few years ago, where maintenance and upkeep were no longer appropriate, and then we're left looking at with costs of exceeding $1 million for a filter system, for example, at Fairfax Park. So trying to do our level best with preventive maintenance, and incrementally keeping our facilities operating smoothly. Spectator shield replacement, that's your glass around your rink, that it provides protection for the spectator seating areas, and that's a $20,000 expenditure. Condenser tower and replacement, that's a $200,000 expenditure, it's estimated. Those are 17 years old, and these are an essential piece of the facility's equipment. Basically serve to remove heat from the sheets of ice at these rinks. Their equipment has exceeded its 15-year lifespan. Replacement again is required to continue maintaining ice in the Arctic rinks without disruption. So we'll be looking at that in 2015. Hobbs compressor repair, I believe, is another one that's in the queue for next year. Same things. Equipment has reached its expected lifespan. Our Patrick Newkirk at Hobbs, our facility manager, is doing a wonderful job of managing the hockey rink. He's done a considerable amount of, conducted a considerable amount of deficiency studies, and he now has a good roadmap to follow for these types of preventive maintenance. Yes, they're big price tags, but if we were to overlook that, we certainly cause disruptions in our service delivery. Anti-desiccant wheels, control humidity. Here we're getting into projects that are proposed to be 2019, a couple of years out and beyond. The support beam painting at the O'Brien rink. When the hockey barn was remodeled a few years back, that was one thing that came, there was some budget trimming, or some trimming back of the scope of that project, and painting those support beams was one of those things that were left out. We want to get back in and paint those beams, not just for aesthetics, but again to preserve the integrity of the metal. Dasher board repairs are something that occurs every 10 to 12 years around the rinks. The roof replacement at both rinks is scheduled for 2019 with a $250,000 price tag. It's labeled Ice Center improvements, I believe. Excuse me for not having that. Oh, okay. There are some improvements that they were looking at to do at the Hobbs to set the facility up to pull in a junior hockey team. Obviously, with another event or another renter in the building, it increases the revenue. There's certainly a demand for hockey in Eau Claire, but right now one of the things that's restricting our ability to do so is mechanical space, the additional locker rooms, and frankly, I think scheduling ice time. But with the Sonnentag development, there will be ice over there as well. So I think they're Dawn and her team are positioning themselves well for a few years out to if we can make these improvements, we know that we'll be Hobbs would be attractive for a junior hockey league, semi-pro, I believe.
Can I ask a question before we
Sure.
get too far?
Please.
So I was noticing that the Community Enhancement Fund is considered a source. Back in the old days, the Community Enhancement Fund was established, and as far as I know, nothing except room tax ever went into it. Is the surplus of income over expense for like the hockey rink that I believe I understood from the annual report that you distributed, that where there's a substantial amount that comes in that's more than the expense, is that going into the Community Enhancement Fund so it can come out for these things?
Yeah, the Hobbs, Fairfax, and our cemeteries are all enterprise funds, meaning they're revenue sources. At times, revenue does not, the revenue coming in does not cover the operational costs. I'd be taking a stab at this, but I do believe that the general fund subsidizes the three enterprise accounts to some degree. And I think Hobbs is right around the $60,000 to $100,000 price range, maybe slightly higher than $100,000. The general fund subsidizes the operational costs. So revenues do not totally cover that.
I always thought that, but that's not what the annual report seemed to say. So maybe we could cover that. Maybe we could go through it at another time.
Yeah, that was just published, I believe, a week or so ago.
I was surprised to see what I saw, because I thought one of the issues about Hobbs was that it needed a substantial general fund subsidy.
It does, and I know that the Fairfax pool, after the additions of the new filtration systems, that it's chiseled down quite a bit. These are substantial dollars, but the cemeteries, for example, require over $250,000 subsidy. It's what we do, and
I don't think we can really get out of the cemetery business, though. But I believe that The ice rinks are quality of life.
Oh, right.
As opposed to quality of death.
To set, and Dawn Comte, Ms. Comte can speak to this better than I, but to set pricing for rental rates to completely cover all costs, I think it may eliminate or prohibit participation. I mean, you can get to the point where a family can't afford to put the kids on ice, and that's a balance that we understand will be a subsidy. Trying to minimize and mitigate that is to our benefit. And some of the things that Patrick's looking at doing, it's not real romantic to look at desiccant wheels and condenser towers and things like that, but those all contribute to the efficiency and operation of the building. Bringing that energy consumption down is a big deal to lowering our subsidy. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
Miscellaneous water heater replacement, I believe there's approximately 8 water heaters required, and again, as bundle them all up, it's a considerable expense, but again, these are expenses that we're forecasting out in a few years. Any questions regarding the 410 fund of Hobbs? And I will move on to the Fairfax.
Quick general question. Priority is more about timeline than like urgency. You have like priority 3, high, middle, low, like priority column?
Yeah.
That's more about the timeline when you want to do it, not necessarily like how urgent it needs to be done for the building.
Correct. The ones that are going to be the most urgent are going to be the ones that are in the queue for 18.
Okay, just timing this is forward or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They probably had the priority first.
Yep, at some
Then they put the time.
Well, I mean, not necessarily my question was like, the building, something that's going to cost $1.3 million had a low priority, so it seemed more just like timeline, the third thing from the bottom or the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So weren't we told before when they were talking about attracting the team that these capital costs would be covered by the team?
The expenditure, they'll certainly be, that'll be an agreement, or they'll be negotiated certainly.
We wouldn't just do this speculatively.
No, not at all. No, you'll see an MOU before you, and there'd be a lease agreement in place approved at this level and on the council before that would be I think prudently before we would move to make some of these improvements. But it might come down to, if we do this, then they will come, but that's a debate for another meeting. Fairfax Park, concession stands in need of renovation. I'm not sure the age of the concession stand nor the furniture in the concession stand, but that's due up for 2019. Locker room upgrades. Our customers are asking for privacy panels in the shower rooms and changing areas, and having to replace some of the plumbing fixtures within the locker or the changing areas there. And that was that's due up in 2018. We get to 2019, we're looking at new lifeguard stands and diving board replacements. Diving boards have a specific lifespan, and Chad's got that in the queue to be replaced on a regular basis. Fairfax signage, the dollar you see there, $30,000. That's a proposed monument sign, much like what we see at Soccer Park. We built that sign a couple of years ago. Owen Park's recently we had one in Owen Park down by the tennis courts. Stone foundation footing. We don't have the design complete yet, but Dawn would be working on that in the future. So that's in 2019. Lily Pad Walker is a play feature within the pool itself. A second pavilion is proposed at the pool, in the pool itself. The one that we have is book solid. We certainly have a demand for another pavilion, and we're looking at erecting another one in 2019. Pool painting again and diving board replacement is again the painting of the pool is a recurring project, and is done I believe it's every 5 years. Shade features, 2021, I believe that is the year slated there, and the chemical controllers and feeder replacements, those are due for replacement simply because the life expectancy has been reached would be in 2021.
With the pool, what's the current life and what's the life expectancy of the slide? That seems to be the most stressed item there.
The slide has just recently undergone a structural study and repainting renovation, so there's probably another good 20 years of, may need some painting touch up, that sort of thing, but they just finished it last spring. It's got a new lease on life.
My children would really enjoy the lily pad walk.
Yeah, I'm certainly yeah, our pool numbers, I know Chad had said the pool numbers were, just went great guns early this summer. Now at the end of the summer, it'll probably all level off and we'll be within a small percentage of what our occupancy is. It'll turn around. I'm sure it will. I just cut some hay last week, so we'll get another couple days of rain, but then it's going to be nice. I'd like to move on to the 450 funds, Pat, if you could. The one thing that to point out, Pat, just hold on, 441. Housekeeping change that's different from years past. You folks have been in the commission for a while. Our trail maintenance, recreational trail maintenance, used to fall into Fund 450, which is our Parks and Rec, our parks accounts. There's an efficiency by bundling our trails in with street and transportation improvements and bridge work. I think it's a good move. Our engineering department, who has most of the folks with the expertise for speccing pavement and grades and things like that, they're in that department. We rely on them heavily to help us with this type of project anyways. The funding is still there. We still have, your committee still has great input in it. It's just funded out of another kettle. Thanks, Pat. And Fund 450, stuff near and dear to me. Our Half Moon Lake Endothal treatment, you'll notice that's an annual occurring budget. We treat Half Moon Lake with endothal. It's to manage or kill the curly-leaf pondweed and Eurasian milfoil, invasive. I believe there will be a sunset on our needing to treat that lake, but we're not there yet. But our partners from University of Wisconsin Stout Discovery Center have been working with us for years. Matter of fact, some of those folks have made a career out of Half Moon Lake, and the water quality that has come full circle it's really amazing. What we're programming things in Half Moon Lake again, where not all that long ago water body wasn't that usable.
So that's why the cost goes down in 2020 to 50,000 from 93,000. We're thinking we won't need as much.
Well, we're hoping we can back off and what might become more of a spot treatments rather than the whole lake treatments. Okay. And then sliding down a little ways, the Half Moon, about mid-page, Half Moon Lake alum treatment. Don't confuse the alum treatment with the herbicide. Alum was the last time we applied alum to the lake was 2011. Alum controls or binds the free phosphorus that's released from all the sawdust and ox and horse manure that was a result of the sawmills being located on the banks of the Half Moon Lake. Controlling those algal blooms, creating a clear water column promotes the desirable vegetation that will also help outcompete the invasive Eurasian milfoil and curly-leaf pondweed. We had thought back in 2011 that a whole lake treatment would have been all we needed. Turns out the residual sawdust and organic layer in the lake bed is larger, deeper, than more active than originally thought. So this spring we had to treat with alum again, but it was just focused on the western arm of the lake. In 2 years, we're looking at treatment perhaps on the eastern arm of the lake. That, we're fairly confident that will be stepped down to, and it may be a spot treatment or maybe not needed at all if we can control the floating, free phosphorus. I'm not a water chemist, but our partners at Scout, they lose me in some of the conversations, but that's, so you'll notice there's, and then that's an every other year expenditure. We just found out we secured grant funding for the alum treatment for the next 2 years as well, so that project is funded by 75% from the state of Wisconsin, so our share would be significantly less than what you see budgeted. And
Are we thinking that arm is still got a problem because of we can't get in Browns Bay with the alum, or because the water coming from the river is on the east arm, not on the west arm?
No, we can treat the whole lake with alum. One of the things that the water scientists are concerned with is the lake that we use, the water that we're coming from our high capacity wells has phosphorus in it, so we're putting phosphorus in it. So we're looking at, one of the ideas was some sort of a drip system with alum, as this lake, these wells are pumping water into Half Moon Lake, may already be cured and treated going in there. I think that idea is in the research phase in somebody's laboratory at this point.
Okay.
I'll just go down the list. Playground maintenance, our annual recurring expenditure of $10,000 a year is a result of the fact that playground equipment is awful expensive. Some years back, the city put in a lot of playgrounds, and they're aging at the same time, and our elements wear and tear on the on a lot of these manufactured parts and pieces, and our operational budget is getting taxed just to keep up with that. So we decided to capitalize some of these costs. For example, a tube slide section has a failure. That's almost $1,000 item just for one 4-foot tube. Same with our park structures. We have well over 100 park structures, pavilions and stadiums. We capitalized some dollars just for routine window replacement, roofing. Miscellaneous carpentry repairs. So that's helped us. That's helped our operational budget stay a little healthier as we go through the course of the year.
Is that enough to cover it?
What's that?
Is $10,000 a year enough to cover that?
It makes us, we have to set priorities, obviously, but it helps us, it helps us keep our operating budget rolling along through the year, as opposed to about this time of year, I was usually starting to see our budget report and our building materials were dwindling fast, and we had half the year left. So that's helped. Our finance director helped us set that protocol a few years ago. It's made a big difference. Southwest Dog Park and Boat Launch. There's a proposal to create a dog park and somewhat improved boat landing on the Ferry Street property by the water treatment plant. The 17 the 17 would be for design study, and the 130,000, 133,000 would be for implementation of that. There may be we'll see how things go when the budget is passed, but there is I think what's gaining more traction, folks, is the idea of a dog park on the north side, Sundet Park in particular. Some of these costs for another off-leash dog area would be funded through the daily fees or user fees for the dog park. Currently, I believe we have over $100,000 in that fund to capitalize towards, developing another dog park. Whether it's at Ferry Street or Sundet Park remains to be seen, but I do believe that the Sundet Park idea is gaining a lot more traction.
I was curious, the skateboarders are apparently proposing to raise nearly all the funds needed to have the new skate park. Mm-hmm. Why would the dog enthusiasts, didn't they do fundraising for the first one?
Sure they did. And then
but that's not proposed?
Well, the fees, what was set up was the fees that are collected to use the dog park, either the daily passes or the annual passes. A portion of those are dumped into this capital fund for almost like an endowment, just to keep this going forward. Those were agreements that were set up several years ago when the Otter Creek Dog or off-leash area was established. Where are we? Your Carson Park electrical upgrades. The event area in front of the Pine Pavilion, that green wide boulevard where a lot of events set up. There's power that comes underground. That was a line that was direct buried some years ago. We're just noticing some wear and tear on the connections, and there would be a lot. We want to make it a simpler system. When University Homecoming or another event organizer comes in and they need that power, they have to hire their own electrician to make a connection there. We're looking at almost, it'd be a 50 amp fuse with a large junction box, so we can just plug in, just as if you were going to plug something in. And we'll eliminate that line that's deteriorating. We'll still have that extended power outlet area. So that's what you'll see there in the Carson Park electrical upgrade. Irrigation cannon. That's a water reel, if you will. One of the areas that we really need that is at Jeffers Park. All our fields are irrigated, but there's probably 5 or 6 acres, if we tally it all up, of common area behind the backstops around the concession stand and down the alleyways that was not irrigated, was not piped in and irrigated. Due to the use there and the events at that park, if we do not feed that turf at a healthy rate, we won't be able to grow grass there. So we were proposing one of these cannons that can be plugged into a point and left run for some hours, and when we have an employee stationed at Jeffers Park, they'll move that thing around. Most of them retract. They'll actually set them out and they'll work their way back and program it for 3 hours, and you'll get the water down that we need. So that's what we want. That's fairly urgent need there. We want to get that. We want to get that into the queue next year. We've been fortunate to keep some grass green out at Jeffers due to the natural rainfall, but it's in a dry spell we would have dirt very quickly in those areas. Not the fields. We have a lot of good feeding edges. The baseball parking lot, the main parking lot in front of the baseball stadium, needs seal coating, resurfacing, crack repair. That's all for next year. We're proposing it would be at $293,000 total expenditure. Everything else is pushed out some years. The Mount Simon master plan. We need to really take a look at Mount Simon. We have a playground that's adjacent to the water. We have a pavilion where the restroom is directly across the parking lot. We really want to have some assistance and consulting as to if we were to develop that park and improve that park. And we've acquired a property coming into the park too, so it's high time to look at that piece of property and how do we incorporate that into Mount Simon's use patterns. And there's just some limitations as to what we can do the way things are laid out right now. I covered Allen Truman. About one park, high capacity wells. We fund that account every 3 years with $30,000. Generally, we'll see our wells operate for about 3 years and then they need refurbishing. A problem we have, and it's inherent within the water, is iron bacteria. The bacteria builds up and builds up on the inside of the casing, and pretty soon what was once a casing this wide becomes something as wide as you can push a pencil through and causing the pumps to work harder, et cetera, et cetera. So we're seeing about a 3-year lifespan on that. So every third year we set ourselves up so we can fund recycle or rehabbing our wells, our high capacity wells. One, you'll notice that you might have a question, the ADA compliance implementation. A couple years ago, we initiated a ADA transition plan. We had a comprehensive study of all our facilities and recreational areas to see if they met code. And this Bible, if you will, identifies areas where we've got, we need to make some modifications. that 185,000 represents bundling quite a few of those, almost nearly all of them, to get us within compliance of the Americans with Disabilities Act. If the stadium renovation occurs, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit, that could eliminate a considerable, number of our deficiencies at the Carson Park Baseball Stadium. So we'll see where that goes. And that's coming up in 2019. We want to put a new restroom at Owen Park. The proposed location would be in that, just south of the playground where that area was rehabilitated after all the coke and that contamination was removed from that site. So we'll have a new restroom. We're thinking something similar to the restroom and small pavilion that we see at North Riverfront's Park on Forest Street. There's a restroom with a small pavilion attached. We're thinking something like that.
That is so needed.
Yeah, and the bathrooms at Owen Park are well beyond their life expectancy. But we'll leave that structure there because that's where all our electrical components are for those high capacity wells. We could pretty it up certainly, but as a restroom, it's not functional any longer. The baseball stadium fan deck, we're finding that while these fan decks are wonderful features, they are a maintenance issue. Staining and works with the spindles and the uprights and the tabletops, but our deck floor is just, we're not able. You could stain this year, and next year it looks like we've done nothing. So we're looking at composite lumber for the flooring. We're getting some estimates on that. I think the 85,000 is actually going to come up a little short of what we would of all surfaces. But then there's some of those surfaces that are covered that aren't aging near as fast either. So we can manage that. Northwest Community Park, we're looking at land purchase or further development, getting better access to Northwest Community Park. Right now it's at the end of Van Ness Parkway and it's through via Excel Energy right away. It's really not what we need to. It's really not what we would like to see. Pat's Department of Planning, Daryl has been in communication with the potential development up in that area that might poke a road into the Northwest Community Park, which would be wonderful if that could happen. Once we get the road in there, proper access, we look at other amenities like restrooms, parking lots, and lighting.
Where is that, Ted?
Northwest Community Park, north of 312 or North Crossing and Jeffers. I'd be like the northeast quadrant of that intersection.
Not where the softball.
No, it's east side of Jeffers Road.
Closer to 312?
Yep. Actually, the south edge of it butts up against 312. As you're starting to go up the incline by Old Wells Road, if you're starting to go up the hill.
Across from the Visitors Bureau office and
kitty
corner from the gas
station. Pretty much. Kitty corner from the holiday station.
I'm all for improvement, but one of the things I like about it is it's sort of a hidden gem.
Best kept secret. Yeah, we've got a couple places like that. Phoenix Park Farmers Market, some of the pigmented concrete is just due for some staining. That's what we're looking at there. And the Carson Park restroom, that's a few years out. It would be replacing the restroom down by our playground, our main playground. We really need to bring that away from the woods edge, so to speak, and out near, a little more visible and accessible. Any questions on Fund 450?
When you do those restrooms, will you make them more weather, able to be open earlier in the year?
Yeah, it's challenging.
It doesn't matter.
These are seasonal restrooms, and we try to get them on as early as we can. Typically, Waterworks spring turn on is close to a month once we start. We start from our core and workout. Obviously, we have over 160 fixtures to de-winterize, I guess. But it's challenging. But I don't know if that's reality unless we would go with climate-controlled, heated all winter long.
Didn't see anything about that project that we recommended a couple months ago that in Carson Park, like a turnaround area.
Correct. That came mid process.
Oh, okay.
And that was, the marathon was interested in helping us out with that.
Right.
As well as Visit Eau Claire. We saw benefit for that. However, they weren't able to have a MOU signed, and it's off the table.
Oh.
It would have worked out well this year with the Causeway project due to the fact that you have a contractor just down the road doing a lot of work in it. I still think it's a good idea, but I don't think we'll ever get it for that price tag.
Right, because it's going to be more expensive separately.
But that's, I'm glad you asked, because that, you should know that. Because Jeff and I were receiving some emails about that project. And there, like I said, there was 2 trees, what I would say significant trees that would have been lost, but we certainly would have improved safety and access. But the marathon has some other plans as well, and I think it has something to do with the Sun and Tag development, possibly finishing the race on Water Street. It might be one of the things.
Sure.
That makes sense. If their plans may not be concrete, their ability to invest might try to question it. I've talked way too long.
If I'm down the Southwest Dog Park and boat launch.
Oh, sure.
I don't think dogs are going to use a boat launch, so I'm discretion one.
It was a dual purpose. We'll have a dog park. There's interest in a dog park there that have access, that off leash area that have access to the Chipper River. And there's a boat launch that needs to be approved. One of those. I think, are we looking for a recommendation to approve the CIP as proposed?
Yes, we are.
I move to approve the CIP as proposed.
A second?
Second.
Jason.
Excuse me, there is specific wording in there. In our packet, there was specific wording for the motion, so I'm just wondering. Make that the motion.
I move that the 2018-2022 capital improvement plan presented as the document on file in the city of Office of the City Clerk and open to public inspection during normal business hours is recommended for approval by the Waterways and Parks Commission.
Well, second.
But not really the part that's about streets, right? We're just talking about the things that normally this commission would deal with.
You're right, it would have been the 410, 412, and 450 funds, the transportation funds. It was in the packet, but it was what Jeff would have to. This is Jeff's responsibility, the public works portion.
Okay.
And I think that's what he included in, perhaps mistaken.
Minutes will reflect your look at those 3 funds.
But are trails not under our purview, or?
Yes, they are. Just that the dollars are going to be coming out of Fund 441.
We didn't mention that around Half Moon Lake some trail is getting added, and maybe, hopefully it's on the calendar now anyway, in 2019.
Yep, when we could talk about that. When those proposals would be on deck, David Solberg will bring that to this platform, and you'd have the oversight or purview of those projects.
Okay, you get a second to Joshua's motion. Jason has a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody got a smile left for a photo?
If I could make just one quick point. Susan, you brought up the design site plan for Wilson Park, and Diane, you did as well. With groups like you heard from tonight, consistently we get a lot of idea folks come to us. We have the association or the group this was being a disciple of Phil Faber. This is how we sort of put on a little armor, because we could spend a tremendous amount of hours of time doing things like this. It was actually on their onus to create and show, and maybe an oversight on their part.
Should we have approved it without him having a site plan?
Given the scope of this project, I don't think you need to be overly concerned about that. I think what our position has long been, get us, staff, something in writing so that we have something to react to so that we can bring that to you. And they had a nice proposal minus one element.
Okay.
And thank you for bringing up the funding too. We try to be consistent with everybody else too.
That was, $1,600 max, but I was worrying about the memo of understanding. I mean, we expected that of the Pickball people and Carson Park people and there's one other one.
What I would, I'll talk to Jeff, but I think what would be prudent is we build one.
And see
possibly
what
two.
the impact is.
I think that's.
Because it's just such a little park that even when all you do is go to 12 feet, you're taking a pretty big chunk of the park.
Take a walk and get a feel for it.
I was thinking too, Todd, that would fit in. We had the proposal for that grant through Mayo Clinic to add some bocce ball courts to McDonough. And actually, the cost of doing this would be a whole lot cheaper. And we're dealing with a similar audience. And we have the space there between the parking lot and the new courts.
I think their focus on Wilson was the vibrance of downtown and what's bubbling downtown and accessibility.
I understood that, and that's why I didn't want to make any real ways.
This idea is one that we can implement relatively easily with little overhead on our part, and they'll have to end it up.
Similar to the post-meeting chit chat, do we have to go points 5 and 6? I mean, we haven't. Are we going to the pictures now? Because
we finished the meeting.
We haven't finished the meeting yet.
Is that the last thing on the agenda?
We
Is another photo?
got special events and director's report to just
Oh, we have special events and director's report.
Any questions
Let's.
on either?
You've answered them all already.
There was a typo in one of the highlighted sections. It stated that the forestry division is not completed with spring planting. We are completed with spring planting.
I think what happens is that people go and they change just the part that has something new in the director's report. And it does get confusing because it says, for example, that in Pinehurst, such and such is happening. It's just the dating of things because the year they were talking about was a year ago, so surely that's different now.
I had asked a few years ago, can you just highlight the new stuff so that, because it looks like the same thing, you really have to read close to see is there anything new in there, so can you just highlight the new stuff?
Yes, which I think they do now. But when you read through the old stuff to remind yourself of what's in play, you can get really confused about where we are in certain projects because the dates haven't been updated.
I assume the dates are relative, not exact, so that next month instead of August 2017, something like that.
Yes, and there are things that say this will be done in 2016. Okay, did we do it? Kind of thing. I mean, it would be worth going through it for that kind of thing just once in a while. Okay, let's say anything else tonight.
For Jeff?
No.
Jeff's in Canada fishing. I wonder if he's getting rained on. Thank you for tolerating me tonight. I don't often do this.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Do we just look at Micah and smile then for a photo?
What we'll do is set up 4 chairs over here in the corner. 4 commission members sit and 4 stand behind. We'll take a picture of the next to the flag.
Should we adjourn first?
Yes.
Motion and second to adjourn? All those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Nobody.
This program was brought to you by a cooperation between Newsworks and the City of Eau Claire. A transcript of this meeting is available for the hearing impaired. It will be available within 7 days of this telecast. Call 715-839-4912 or TDD 715-839-1689, or write Eau Claire City Clerk, P.O. Box 5148, Eau Claire, Wisconsin 54702-5148. Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715-839-5067 or online at valleymediaworks.org.